What is the property tax?
Most types of property in California are subject to the state's property tax, including real property, which is what we think of land and buildings and structures, both residential property, so homes and apartment complexes, the like, as well as commercial property, retail outlets, manufacturing facilities, and other businesses.
What is the property tax rate?
The property tax rate in California is set at a maximum 1% of assessed value. That was set in 1978 when voters passed Proposition 13. First of all, it set a maximum tax rate at 1% of assessed value. And secondly, it limited the rate at which the property's assessed value could grow from year to year. Under Prop 13, a property's assessed value can grow at either the rate of inflation or 2%, whichever is greater, in any given year. When it's sold, however, the property is reassessed to its current market value, which is usually just the price that's paid for the property when it's sold. During most periods, a property's market value increases each year by more than 2%, which is the limit that a property's assessed value is allowed to increase by under Proposition 13. This leads to, in many circumstances, if a property has been owned for many years, 10, 15, 20 years, its assessed value is much, much lower in some cases than its market value is. When a neighboring resident then moves in at that period and purchases a home which is assessed at its current market value, the two homeowners, for instance, could pay markedly different property taxes.
Where do property tax revenues go?
If you look at total combined state and local taxes, the largest is the personal income tax. The second largest now is the property tax, and the third largest is the sales tax. I think there's often been some confusion about the role of the property tax. The property tax, unlike the other two, is not a state tax. It is strictly a local revenue source. It goes to cities, counties, special districts, and school districts. While it is a local tax, it is also the case that the property tax has a major impact on the state's budget. And that's through its role in funding education, public education, through Proposition 98. Proposition 98 establishes a total funding requirement for combined state and local revenue sources. And then the second step is to look at how much of that total funding requirement is financed by available property taxes. And what's left over is the requirement for the state's general fund. So when you have years with tremendous property tax growth, that's going to alleviate the pressure on the state's general fund. And conversely, as was the situation over the last several years when you have significant declines in property taxes, that will add to the state's obligation to fund public schools.
A share of the property tax goes to fund the state's schools and community colleges. If there's not enough property tax to cover the school or community college's costs, the state pays the difference. So if property taxes come in low, the state must kick in more general fund to pay for schools and community colleges. So in this way, if property taxes increase, the state could see its education costs decrease, or vice versa.
Property taxes offset general fund expenditures. In 1978, voters passed Prop 13, which set the property tax rate at 1% of the property's value. Prop 13 also changed the vote requirement to raise taxes to a 2/3 majority.